Hi, I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Today on the Online Prosperity Show, we're going to talk about social selling. Now, social selling isn't what you think. It's not about selling on social. And we're going to dive in and I'm going to explain 3 things that you can be doing to actually enable you to generate more business from social media.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, your premier destination for exclusive insights from industry trailblazers. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. And today, we've got a guest whose journey is as dynamic as his vinyl records that he passionately collects. Now, Timothy, how are you doing today?
Hi, Prosper. I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. And I'm really excited to be talking to you today. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction.
Well, we haven't even started yet. When I saw your file come through and it said you had a collection of over 700 vinyl records, I was intrigued. I was like, wow, that is something else, because from vinyl we've gone to cassette, CDs, and we now gone to digital, and you still have your collection. So we're going to be diving into all of that and what the fascination is about, especially when it comes to preserving music in that format. And apparently you've got also some rare 70s vinyl records that are stored in a cabinet that was actually handcrafted by your grandfather, right?
Yes. So where are we? This here is my great-grandfather's 78 gramophone. So he passed it to my grandfather, to my father, and to myself. It was made in 1913. It's an HMV Grand Monarch. And this box here is a record cabinet which has my grandfather's and my father's the 78s and their vinyl records. And my grandfather made this cabinet.
Wow, what a heritage. And does that gramophone still work, or is it one of those that
It works perfectly, yes.
That is remarkable. It's a very significant piece of history, because you're using the very instrument that your grandfather and his father would have used at the time. And does it still sound like that? I don't know how vinyls start off. It's like a little bit of a
so this plays 78, which is different from a vinyl record. A vinyl record is made of vinyl plastic and plays at 33 1/3 RPM, whereas this uses a 78, and they were made out of shellac. It's a very much harder material, and it plays at 78. The reproduction on this isn't. I mean, the reproduction is as good as it was in the day. Compared to what we can have today, it's not very good. But this is quite a rare model, because most of the models you'll see have got metal cones, and this has got a wooden cone, which has just makes the sound a little bit more softer.
Oh wow, has a lot to learn now about gramophones, because I've seen the ones that are brass or metal, or I've never heard of a wooden one. But hey, we always learn every single day. And for those that
every day's a school day.
Fantastic. And for those that are watching, thank you so much for tuning in to the Online Prosperity Show. And as you will soon learn, Timothy has a lot of insights about fair amount of subjects. But beyond his musical interests, he's also a pioneer in the realm of social selling, and a co-founder and CEO of DLA Ignite. And he's also authored a groundbreaking book, Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Change Makers. Now, since we were, talking about vinyls and things like that, I just thought I'd maybe ask, for us to get started, is there a record that actually encapsulates the essence of social selling for you in your collection there?
Do you know, Prosper, I've never been asked that question. So thank you very much. It's a really good question. One of my favorite records of all time. I like rock music, and one of my favorite records of all time is a record called "Made in Japan" by a band called Deep Purple. And it's a live record. It was recorded in Japan, and it's. I'm not sure if it encapsulates social selling. It encapsulates that particular band playing their form of rock music at that time, and it was something that I kind of grew up on. It was one of the first records I heard. It was always one of the ones that people would say, "You need to listen to this because this is kind of what rock is about." And it stayed with me all my life. It'd be one of those, if I ever did the show where they ask you what records you take onto a desert island, it would be one of those.
Absolutely.
I can listen to it. I can listen to it all the time.
So Made in Japan by Deep Purple.
Deep Purple, yeah.
Yes, and what is it about social selling that you found that was encapsulated in that song, in especially?
I think one of the things that made Deep Purple different was that they were a band that didn't necessarily play. They didn't necessarily stick to a particular formula. They innovated as they played, and what you can hear in that is the innovation, and the thing that social selling is about. It's about what basically people buy people.
Right.
And what we're looking for, whether it's on social or wherever it is, we're looking for personality. And what we're looking, and we're really good at personality in terms of saying we like that person or we don't like that person. It's something that it's in our DNA. It's something that we learned because we learned it to survive. And what we're looking for as buyers are people that we can trust, people that's going to help us, people that are, especially in the world of business to business where I am, people probably understand the product they're selling. My background is selling accounting systems. I know a lot about accounting. I am not an accountant, but I can talk to accountants and I can hold my own with accountants because I learned so much through the process of actually selling it. And I think that's the same with most salespeople. And it's that ability to hear what's going on, to hear what the other people are doing in the band, and actually work with that, and react to that. And that's the thing that I like about that Made in Japan is that spontaneity and that ability to change with what's going on and what's going on with what's going on around me. But ultimately, what I'm myself. Does that make sense? Great question.
Absolutely. I love it. And what I discovered about Deep Purple, and especially this particular album, it was recorded in 3 different places. That was in Osaka, and all of them were live events, something that was obviously going to be difficult because you couldn't control what the public audience was going to do and things of that nature. But apparently their Japanese producers convinced them to do it, and they ended up becoming one of the Billboard chart winning albums. And it's remarkable, and I can see the talk behind that, because back in that time it was unheard of. Everything was done in a studio, and you wanted to have it in a controlled environment. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Great question.
Fantastic. So now tell us a little bit about obviously your journey. How did you get started? You talked about accounting and things of that nature. Let's get to know the man.
Okay. So I'm a salesperson, and I've been a salesperson all my life. And so I've been selling now for some 30 years. And mainly in the last 20 years, I've been involved with the company, the US software company, Oracle. I either worked for them or I worked for their partners. I ran a partner as well. I set up my own partner. I was on the board in the UK as well. And I realized when I was in my 40s, so 15 years ago, that I didn't want to sell accounting systems for the rest of my life. I wanted to do something else. And I got involved in social media. I've now been on what is now Twitter for nearly 16 years. I've been on LinkedIn now for over 20 years. And I knew that there was something up about social media, but I didn't know what it was. Oracle very kindly made me redundant at the same time as a friend of mine, and we'd always said, "Well, why don't we set up a company?" And we got together and we set up DLA Ignite, and that was 8.5 years ago. And we were laughed at when we set up the company because everybody said social media is a fad, and it's really funny the introduction you gave, which is, social media is like the place. It is. And we spotted this probably 15 years ago. But it's really funny to go from when you set up a company and people laugh at you saying you're wasting your time, right through to people saying, now this is the place. It is the only, email marketing doesn't work. I had a guy say this to me yesterday, AI pretty much killed it off, because people are just spamming. And they can do it at such a low cost and stuff that there's just so much noise. I mean, I don't know how many pieces of email spam that you get every day, but it must be, for me, about 5 to 10. And, you just ignore it. Cold calling doesn't work. Nobody looks at adverts. So what are you going to do? How are you going to get and have a conversation? Because ultimately, anything that we do in business to business requires us to have a conversation, and some sort of meaningful conversation. How do we get a conversation with a buyer? And the only way that we're going to do that is because we know that our buyer's on social media. So, fish where the fish are. So that's what we're talking about.
That's an interesting, turn of events. I mean, obviously, you losing your job with Oracle and going in to work with social media, and with all these things that were happening, social media, you're right. It has been treated as a fad by most people, and nobody has really taken it, seriously. But there's people that are actually creating remarkable moves on those platforms. Now, coming from accounting, I mean, obviously, that's a whole different look on things, because accountants in mind.
So I'm not an accountant. So I sold accounting systems, but being as I sold accounting systems, I've got to learn a lot about accounting. But I'm not an accountant. I'm a salesperson. It's just more around the fact that anything in business to business, you have to show empathy with your customer, and one of the best ways of finding about what are the business issues that they've got is understanding what they do.
Absolutely. Well, now that you've put it out in the open, because I was really trying to see how an accountant would have actually now become,
No, I grew up. I had a technical background. I did a qualification in electrical and electronic engineering, and I thought that I was going to go down a technical route. And I went and worked for ICL, which at the time, International Computers Limited, which at the time was a UK computing company. It's now been absorbed into Fujitsu. And I went on their graduate scheme, which is just excellent. They taught you how to do presentations and things. But I thought I was going to go down a technical route, but then I saw salespeople and I thought I'd quite fancy having a go at that.
Now it really spells out the fascination with the gramophone behind you, and also the technical engineering aspect of.
Yes, so my father was a sound engineer at the BBC, so he's actually unfortunately it's downstairs, but I usually have he left me a couple of reel-to-reel tape recorders. I usually have it behind me, but I've been sorting his tapes out. So one of the things, I've got loads of the old reel-to-reel tapes.
Absolutely. Wow.
As well as the vinyl and everything else, yeah.
Absolutely. See, this is a lot of inheritance and heritage that has put you in the position that you're in right now. And obviously, from what you're saying, your father has profound influence, in the work that you're now sort of doing. And
Yes, and I'm also trying to I'm trying to use my platform to spread the word of his legacy, and because I think it's important. My father passed away 2.5 years ago,
right.
and I learned something at his funeral which I didn't know, which was that he had a massive influence on a whole bunch of people. So I was there, and they came up and shook my hand, and they didn't shake my hand like that. They actually came up to me and went like this, and they said, "If it wasn't for your father, I wouldn't be where I am today." And he was a massive mentor and supporter of people, Asian people, trans people. Now, remember, this was 40, 50 years ago. So this is not like last week or something like that. No. He supported men who wanted to be women. He supported, there was, the BBC was a particularly white organization, and Asian people here in the UK said that, doesn't represent us. And he basically worked on all of the Asian programs, and he built but friendships with people like Ravi Shankar. He went to Ravi Shankar's 50th birthday party. And for him, my father, it was a technical challenge to record Indian music. He saw it as that, and he saw everybody. He saw everybody as I do, as we're all human beings, and it doesn't matter who we are, where we come from. And he saw that, and I saw that, and I'm trying to actually share that. I've got a big bag of his stuff by the side of me here, and I'm basically putting out small videos because I think it's so important to share his legacy.
Absolutely. And how has this sort of legacy now shaped your own approach to leadership and mentorship? Because that was what he was doing, but you
I knew that. So there's a saying that there's 2 days, two important dates in your life. One is the day that you're born, and the second is the day when you realize you were born. And I knew very back in 2014, 2015, before my first book came out, that I knew why I've been put on this earth, which is to change the world with social media. And I kind of lived with that. But it wasn't until my father's funeral where I actually decided to go on a search even more for my purpose in life. And my purpose in life is a kind of little bit more above social selling, which is we change people's lives. People, when people come on our course, on our coaching, it changes the way that people see the world. It changes the way that people see see themselves for the better. And while people learn actually how to social sell, we've had so many people come up to us. We being Adam Gray, my business partner, and myself, so many people come up to us and hug us and say, "You've changed my life," and that for us is the big win. It's not. That's the thing that we.
Absolutely.
Sorry, my partner's just set the fire alarm off downstairs, which was what the whining was. I think she was burning some toast or something. The important thing is that I now understand what my purpose is, and that was really important.
Absolutely. And let's just maybe go to the book and then maybe move on to the purpose part of it. I mean, in the book, Social Selling, you're actually emphasizing building trust and authority online. And, you're saying that in the same breath as there's now spam, AI, and all of those things. How can one actually build trust and authority online?
So the mistake the mistake that everybody makes is that they think that social media is a sales platform. It's a platform for basically going on and selling, and it's not. It's a platform for building relationships and having conversations. Now, quite a lot of people will look at me and say, "Yeah, but relationships take a long time." They don't. I'm on this call because you found me. Your sister found me. You saw me as a person that had something to say. what we do is that we teach people how to actually tell their personal and professional story, how to establish authority, and then how to actually facilitate conversations. Now, you don't get a conversation by going up to somebody and saying, buy my product because we're great. What you do is you get a conversation by saying, hey, Prosper, so where do you live? Oh, well, I live in Melbourne. Okay, so and what and that's a conversation. And so just people quite often think that this is some sort of fluff. We've now been running a benchmark for 26 months across our clients. And in that 26 months, the average SDR is getting 2 meetings a day with their ICP. Now, you can't get that from cold calling or sending spam emails or events or anything like that. And that's purely just getting to people to understand that if they treat social media as social media, they will actually get those level of conversations. The other thing is from an AE perspective, we're shortening sales cycles by 30%. So immediately what you're able to do is you're able to close deals ahead of your competition or close them in the quarter you want or whatever. But by actually making sure that we're building a presence. And that's the difference. Quite often people just don't believe the figures that we're getting, but it's the benchmark that we've been running. And this is what people tinker around the edges around social selling, and they think just because I'm going to post a picture of my sales kickoff or something that I'm social selling. It's not. You need to be getting a revenue response to it. And the only way that you get a revenue response is by having conversations and meetings with people, which then drive revenue.
Absolutely. And from what you're saying, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. But you would also agree that the algorithms have not been playing fair to a lot of people. I mean, you were talking about Twitter earlier on, and I mean, if the whole idea was to tweet for Elon Musk, wouldn't he have just downloaded the app for free, just like everybody else, and not have paid $48 million?
The thing is that the algorithms don't matter. If you're playing the algorithm game, you'll lose. The thing is that to go onto social media and be doing the right thing. What every single social media platform want, whether it's Facebook, whether it's X, whether it's Blue Sky or LinkedIn, is they want people to go on. They want people to spend time there. They want people to share content. They want people to share content that other people are interested in. They want people to engage. They want people to have conversations, whether that's on the platform or in direct mail. Those are the things that you should be doing. And if you are doing those things, then what you'll find is that the platform will actually work for you. You know, what all of those platforms want to do is show you ads. Therefore, the longer you're on there, the more ads you're going to see. Now, you're not going to particularly look at the ads. It doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is that they want you to be there. And they want you to have conversations, and they want you to engage. They want you to share good, interesting, insightful content. And that's the thing about social media. If you're doing those things, if you do the things that we tell you to do, the algorithm doesn't matter.
Cool stuff. And obviously you would argue as well that in the sort of 30 minutes that we've been chatting here now, Tim, somebody's trying to get a hold of you on whatever social media platform it is, and the social media platform is telling them that that's an impression, so they have seen it, and so many people are walking away thinking that people are actually viewing and seeing and engaging with their stuff, whereas you and I have been having this nice chat here.
One of the things about social media is that if you take LinkedIn, for example, there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn, and your job is as a salesperson is actually to get somebody to go, do you know, that looks really interesting. You know, just like your sister did when she basically contacted me. She found me and went, TimothyHughes looks interesting. We need to get him on the podcast. Now, it's not difficult to do that, but if you've got 1 billion people walking past your in effect, your shop window, you want the people to do that, go, rather than, oh no, not another salesperson who's going to sell me something, and then immediately I'm going to appear as a piece of meat in their CRM, and they're going to ring me every month and say, are you going to buy something? we if we put yourselves in the feet of the buyers are looking for people that that can help them with insight. And it's this stuff isn't difficult, but 100% of salespeople seem to find it is.
But obviously, I mean, you constantly refer to the way that, the way we operate. The way we operate is obviously we have someone sitting on there and really engaging, connecting, and creating that sort of rapport. But for some business people, they might argue and say, it's only me. I don't have that time to be sitting around and waiting for these eggs to hatch. What would you say to somebody like that, Tim?
Well, this is part of this thing where people think that relationships take a long time. So first and foremost, we've already agreed that cold calling doesn't work and email doesn't work and adverts don't work. So what are you going to do? So, I have people saying, I don't have time for this. You say, what are you doing? Well, I'm cold calling. So how's that working out? So I can't get through to anybody. All I can do is leave voicemail. So why are you wasting your time doing that and not doing this? The other thing is that when you're, so LinkedIn allows you to send 200 connection requests every week. That's 200 opportunities for you to have a conversation. Now, I know people that are telling me that because what they're doing is that they're spamming, is that they're only getting like a 3% connection request rate. Using our benchmark, we're getting something like an 85% connection request rate. So that's 200 connections that you can send. You get an 85% connection rate. That means you've got 160 conversations that you can have. So you then take that down. That's then. So as you work that through, that's why you're ultimately, when you have conversations with people, you can be getting 2 calls every single day. The really good SDRs are getting 25 a week. Now, I don't understand why people don't have time for 25 customer meetings a week. I can imagine it's quite impactful on, you don't have a lot of time for anything else, but 25 customer meetings is pretty good. You're more likely to do your number.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if that's, who you're ending up talking to, it now depends on your conversion rates to see how many of those calls you'll be converting into customers. But you're absolutely right. Not a lot of people are making that many, conversations, and they're not speaking to as many people as much as they can in order for them to be very conclusive about what channel works and things like that. So if Sally is listening to this, Timothy, and is like, oh, okay, so maybe we're thinking social media and we need to rethink it, do they need to make a big overhaul in their business structure or strategy, in order for them to actually then approach it in the way that you're talking about that?
Yes. So there's 3 things that people need to do that are listening in. The first thing is that they need to think about their LinkedIn profile as this shop window to the world. And they need to think about it as what the buyers think. It's not what most salespeople think it's about them. It's not. It's about the buyer. What is it the buyer basically thinks? What's the buyer looking for? What's the support that the buyer is looking for? And the other thing is that, we're not interested in, most people think, what we have to do is go to, and say, buy my product because we're great. We're not interested in that. Nobody listens to it. We don't read brochures. We don't read case studies. We don't do read any of these things, any of this corporate propaganda that is basically produced, because of the fact that we know what it's going to say. So the second thing you need to do is you need to be connected to the people that you're trying to influence, and maybe and the people that you're trying to sell to. So you need to actually have a digital territory of the people that you're connected to. If you're not connected to them, you are actually invisible from them, because the way that search works on LinkedIn, it's different from the way that it works on Google. The third thing that you need is you need to have interesting, insightful content. As I said, none of this corporate propaganda. What people are looking for is insight. How can you help me? What are you going to? How can you solve my business issues? and what we're looking for is that in a very bite-sized piece of content, both written, both video, and so if you've got a buyer-centric profile, you've got a wide and varied network, and you're creating insightful content, and also sharing not just your professional story but your personal story, because remember, people buy people. So we're interested in you. You've spent a lot of time talking about my vinyl records, which is why you're interested in me. It's exactly the same thing online. People, if you share something about what you're passionate about, people are interested in that. You'll see people lean forward. So you're a diver. Okay, what does that mean? Or you do origami. Wow, whatever it is, people are interested in your personal journey as well as your professional journey, and it's about getting all of those things together. And what we do is that we teach people how to do that through a process and a methodology, so they're not having to worry about the platform or the algorithm or anything like that. They just do what they need to do, and that's when they start. That's where the magic happens.
You're absolutely right, because I mean that number 700 of vinyl records, and we keep referring back to it, and that's the one thing that, because you made it accessible and you made it sort of available. Now, some people might be looking at their life, and they might not have something that is as interesting as 700 vinyl records with that.
So everybody says I'm not interesting, and I can tell you everybody is. You went you went from Zimbabwe to Australia. Why did you do? You don't have to answer the question, but why did you do that? How did you do that? And what you've done is you've created and become a very successful person in Australia, and people are interested in that. You will do all the things that you do at the weekend. I run a marathon. I ran a half a marathon. I did I'm a paddy diver. Or whatever. I take my kids to football. All of those things are elements of where people can actually build a relationship. We're building rapport, just much as you talk to me about the vinyl records. Everybody's got something that they can talk about, and other people are interested, and that is how you can actually build a rapport with people. And as I say, people buy people.
Timothy, what, just indulge me here for a second. I'm not a financial planner or somebody well-versed in finances, but my understanding is the very things that make people poor are the very things that make people rich, which is basically taxes, debt, and compounding. If you know about compounding, you earn it. If you don't, you're the one that's paying it. Now, in your instance, there's always talk about you're oversharing. Don't talk about your kids' soccer practice. Nobody cares about that. It's not professional, and things of that nature. Whereas what I'm understanding and hearing from you is the very things that we think are not professional about us are the very things that connect us to the right kind of people with the right kind of pain and whoever we want to talk to.
So indulge me. So this is a piece of content that one of my team put out.
Yes.
And this was his second best piece of content. Now, I can show you the figures that personal content will always work better than corporate propaganda, because people are interested in that. They don't come to social media to read brochures. You come to social media to be social. And one of the key things you need to understand is if someone likes or comments on a post, what they're saying is, I have a digital resonance with you. And you've got and what you need to understand is how you can harvest that for you to drive revenue, which we can teach you about. Now, let me give you an example. So this was the person's post. He said, my wife and I love Led Zeppelin. And on Friday nights, when it's time for me to finish up my work and go and join the family for the weekend, my wife puts on Led Zeppelin. And what happens is that I basically finish up and I go and join the family for the weekend. What's your favorite Led Zeppelin song? So people were saying When the Levee Breaks, Whole Lot of Love, Kashmir, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
Right. On Monday, he basically went to that post, and to everybody who basically he was connected to, he said things like, oh, going to California. Yeah, I love that song. We obviously have something in common. Why don't we get on a call? And all the second connection people that had commented, he basically said, oh yeah, the Lemon song. Yeah, I love that as well. Why don't we connect? By using the Led Zeppelin post as ultimately a bridge, as a connection between the two people. Now, what he didn't, if he'd gone to all those people and said, I sell iPhones, do you want to buy one? They would have said, no, go away. But on the basis that you're saying, we're going to talk about Led Zeppelin. Now, when you start that call, clearly you just can't go on and start pitching. But we teach salespeople, and I can assure you 100% of the time, when you go on a call with a prospect, I can assure you 100% of the time that the person will turn around and say, pitch to me. Now, they don't actually use those words, but they will actually ask you, what do you do? And what we do is that we set up the meetings so that happens, and we teach the salespeople, rather than going on and treating it like a sales call, they treat it like a conversation. But what happens is that the person basically is able to pitch, and then we tell them other things to basically say. So they say a whole bunch of things, but then the person says, pitch to me. So that is an example of a piece of content that he put out, that he got more meetings and he got more revenue from than anything else. So this is just proof that this isn't about brochures and white papers and all this rubbish that people keep putting out that nobody's reading. This is about human connection and having a conversation, and that's what people are wanting. And it may be the person you have the conversation the person isn't the one that you want to sell to, but it may be that you say, Prosper, you know this person, can you put me in contact? And you say, yeah, for a Led Zeppelin fan, of course I'll do that.
Oh, absolutely. And can you imagine?
And that's the difference. It's fundamentally different, the way that we're running this, and this is the way that you will drive sales in currently in the current world.
Can you imagine showing up to the call, wearing that Led Zeppelin, t-shirt? And
yes, absolutely. I've got a Riverside one on, but I haven't got Led Zeppelin on today.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I understand what you're saying there. Now this makes sense that you've obviously been globally recognized for, your influence in marketing and sales. The sales part, obviously, you've had extensive, experience with Oracle and things like that. But now with this social bit that you've now put on top, you've completely created your own sort of special niche in this whole thing. But how do you stay ahead of the industry and the trends and all the innovative stuff that keeps coming up, especially with social media? I'm now of the school that, why don't you guys figure out what you want, and when you guys are ready, just tell me how to engage with the platforms. And I know that's completely wrong. You need to be on top of everything.
Well, we decided from day one that all we would do is social. Right. We're not interested in teaching people how to cold call or send emails or compensation and things like that. We know that we're the best in the world around social selling. And what we do is that Adam and I have created a culture of innovation within the company. So I heard recently that actually now 3 of our competitors have folded in the 9 years that we've been going. And usually what happens is you'll see people coming around and then they'll disappear after 6 months. But 3 of the biggest competitors that we've had have now, and we just out innovated them. So what we do is that our go-to-market is through partners. So we have partners that work with us, and we run training sessions every Monday where we get them together and we share ideas. And we have this culture where Prosper may come and say, look, I've been working on this customer and this is what we've learned. And so one of the things that we've done is just make sure that we stay on top of things. AI is a great example of that. We've now taken and put AI through the whole of our program. You know, we've got wherever there's a possibility there could be AI. I've forgotten the word. Prompt. Where there could be an AI prompt, we've basically written one. And I'm actually giving a lecture on AI in a week or so's time. But so what we've had to do is that, you know, for AI is a great example of where we've needed to stay ahead of the market. And what we've done is that we spent the last 2.5 years innovating and experimenting with it.
Love it. You literally put social in social media right there, and
Thank you.
the whole aspect of it, because so many people try and then they just show up based on what they've heard from a webinar, and when they come in at that specific angle and they don't see it, they don't see the actual river flow. They just look at the one vantage point that they were told fish will be there at 8 p.m. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people are doing. They're not actually having an understanding of the framework and the lessons and everything else that comes along with it. Now, I'm just going to pose a question to the listener right now. I mean, as Tim is sharing his experiences and his expertise, I want you to just think of your journey with social media. How are you approaching it? And have you actually embraced it as a tool for growth, or are you finding yourself hesitant? Just drop a comment below and share your biggest challenge or success with social selling. And I think Tim will be looking at those comments and maybe answering one or two of those. Or you might actually be brought closer to his work and his courses and things of that nature. Now, Tim, for those that are obviously now warming up to thinking, hey, this is not just about twerking or tweeting or whatever it is the kids do these days, what would be the best way to get in touch with you and connect with the work you're doing?
So the best way to get in touch with me is LinkedIn. I'm Tim Hughes, Hughes on LinkedIn. And the best thing to do is to send me a note saying that you've seen me on the Prosper podcast, and of course my book Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Change Makers is available on Amazon worldwide.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for opening up that channel to us so that we can sort of get in touch. And if it's not about social selling, I think of the 700 vinyl records that Timothy has, you would have at least something to talk about there. Now,
yeah, and if anyone's got any vinyl records they want to get rid of, then give me a shout.
Oh, fantastic. You see, that would be yet another thing that also opens up doors and things of that nature. You see, when my wife sells things on Facebook Marketplace, I end up having a conversation with the person that shows up on the door because it creates a nostalgia of, oh, we're letting go of this thing. And so it's things like that people would have come in for social selling, but they end up talking about vinyl records, Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple and everything else that comes along with it. But when you talked about your redundancy at Oracle, what I just thought, in the movies, they have that guy carrying a box walking out of the office and everything else. And let's just have that picture of Timothy walking out. Would you have thought that your life would have been like this, the way you are, the legacy you're now putting together, and, just the person you've become?
No, not at all. My first book changed my life, most definitely. And, in a way, I kind of knew that the redundancy was coming. It wasn't a surprise. And in a way, it was the thing that, Oracle were very generous to us, Adam and myself, and we were able to use the money to in effect start the business. And we were able to do what we wanted to do, rather than a lot of people came to us saying, would you do certain things? And we didn't want to do it because it wasn't part of the vision. But no, in terms of what I've been able to create, I never had any. I didn't. I would have said, I wouldn't, if you'd said to me, you're going to do this, I said, no, don't talk rubbish.
Fantastic. Now that you know where you're at and you know where you're going, the people you want to work with, what's next? What can we anticipate from either yourself or from your team? And
So we're making sure that people understand the difference between, because a lot of people are saying, well, what we're going to do is we're going to automate everything with AI, and we're basically explaining to people it's a big mistake, because people buy people, they don't buy robots. If you're going to spend money, $100,000 on a new accounting system, you're not going to buy that from some robot. So people need to understand that they need to use AI, but they need to use it in moderation. And I've got a number of books that I basically want to get out, especially around one of my purposes is legacy, and I'm making sure that I'm creating my legacy.
absolutely. Well, Timothy, I can't thank you enough for the time
Thank you for inviting me.
I mean, you've shared with us invaluable insights and your inspiring journey with us today. And I obviously believe your life story and your experience are well needed right now, where everybody thinks they could just comment, like, and share, scroll, or doom scroll, or whatever it is, and not actually get a return of all the activities that they're doing. Even if you buy something, you get a receipt, and I think what you're giving people is receipts of them showing up on social media, and quite
Good
like
point.
that. Thank you so much. And for those that
Thank
are
you, Prosper.
watching, right now, thank you so much. If you found this episode as enlightening as I did, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody who could actually benefit from understanding the power of social selling. It's not just about tweeting, Facebooking, or anything else they call it these days. If all you're doing is that, then it doesn't matter. But if you actually take a step back and really create relationships with the people behind the screen, you will find that all your efforts will be rewarded. So, and while you're at it, remember to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show for more episodes that are packed with strategies to enhance your personal and professional life. And I want you to join us in the next show, where we're going to be diving into ideas that can lead you to a happier existence. Until next time, keep obviously harnessing the tools that are at your disposal and create the prosperity that you deserve. Bye for now.